things, and we're helping that they don't have to clean a second time. So we have the privilege of being able to host these sessions here in this one central location, bring all of our parents together from all of our partner schools, help you to build a bigger community of parents, and still provide you with that same great information that we've been providing for 12 years. I do want to introduce you this evening to our presenters, but before I do that, when you came in this evening, you were given a folder and you were provided with an evaluation for this session. If you did not receive an evaluation, could you just throw your hand up and we'll make sure you get one? It's super important that we receive the evaluations back because we want to continue to grow and get better for you. We want to make sure that we're meeting those needs and expectations that you have as parents and that you need. So without further ado, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I have with us tonight Dr. Harder and Ms. Garshell. They are both certified teachers from Deerfield Run Elementary School, and they're going to speak with you tonight about expectations of first and second grade reading and things you can do at home to support those efforts. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Stay in the middle. I got this. I'm gonna get used to it holding a microphone. I'm so used to like the teacher voice, so we'll try to get the microphone to work. So she's already introduced us. These are our presenters. This is Miss Garshell. She teaches first grade at Deerfield. It's the 10th year already. And this is her 8 years with Side by Side. And I am Dr. Harder. I teach kindergarten at Deerfield. This is my 9th year teaching and 5 years with Side by Side. So we have some objectives for the night. We're going to model some first and second grade skills that are kind of necessary for success in the area of reading. And then we're going to provide some tools and ideas to have a good foundation of reading, writing, and kind of some math skills because you can kind of incorporate those into some of the games that we'll present later. So, bridging the gap, this is kind of happening in between, the grades. You want to make sure you review like the alphabet. That's kind of a key component to reading because if they don't have the understanding of the letter sounds, they're going to have a really hard time identifying some words, some word family words. I know, and as they increase, the workload changes. I know when we start at the little friends, that's the foundation, and they get to first grade, there's higher expectations, and then in second grade, they should become stronger readers. So make sure you're reviewing those sight words, those high frequency words. They're exposed to that at the beginning. They've got 60 some in first grade, give or take some more. And then I don't believe there's an official list for second grade, but they still use some high frequency words when they're doing their small group reading or anything like that. You want to make sure you practice writing, alphabets and the sight words. That kind of helps, that in between the grades. You want to make personal connections for stories and discuss the differences between fiction and nonfiction reading. So these are kind of some key skills for both first grade and second grade. You can kind of see some similarities between the two. So in first grade, they should have an understanding of short and long vowel sounds. There's more sight words and high frequency words used in first grade. They want to be able to ask and answer questions about a text. They're going to want to retell stories, and this includes both fiction, nonfiction. They want to be able to tell you, the characters, the settings, the main ideas, the beginning, the middle, and the end, all sorts of details in between. You want to decode 1 and 2 syllable words, and you want to read with fluency to support their comprehension. That's a key component to making strong readers. That comprehension piece is really important. So when you're finished reading stories, ask them, what happened? What do you recall happened in that story? A lot of times, the students will be able to read beautifully. You know, they've got all this vocabulary. They can go X, Y, Z, turn all the pages, and at the end, I like rainbows. That doesn't really help them. So you got to focus on that comprehension piece. And then once they move into second grade, they're going to be reading more complex and grade level words. So it advances from the sight words in the alphabet into more grade level appropriate words. There's going to have a variety of different text types. So they're going to go beyond just the fictional, non-fictional. They're going to dive deeper into different types of stories with their teachers. They're going to have a better understanding of those texts and things like that. They're going to want to know the story structure. Again, that's kind of, like I said earlier, the beginning, the middle, the end, the main idea, the characters, settings, and things of that nature. Again, the characters and the main idea. They're going to compare the text. So, for example, if you've got two different pieces of text, maybe about one subject, they can tell you what is similar, what is different. Being able to tell you the difference between a fictional story about pigs or a non-fictional story about pigs. They provide different details and things like that. Their comprehension piece, that increases a lot once they get to second grade. And then they want to make connections and self-correcting. So that is one thing, I know we don't do a whole lot of that in kindergarten. We do a lot of support with that. But once they get to second grade, they want to be able to self-correct. So when they read a word and maybe it didn't come out correctly, they want to be able to fix that themselves, you know, and understand the connection between the letters and the words and understand, that wasn't correct. Let me go back and try that again. Pause.
The agenda has the QR code for the slides.
Oh, yes. The agenda on the paper, right? Yeah. So in the folders, there is the agenda that we typed up. There is a QR code on it. If you scan it with your phone, you will have access to see all of the slides. That way you can
So you don't have to take notes.
Yeah.
I see some of you guys are over here. Raise your hands.
Yep. Yeah, you don't have to take notes.
Yeah, so if you just scan the QR code, all of the slides will come up for you.
Perfect. I forgot about that. All right. So there are a couple reading assessments that happen in both first grade and second grade as of right now.
They're new.
They're new, okay? So your children might have come home and talked about the iReady assessment and the NWEA math fluency assessment. I believe iReady assessments are done, and the math has until tomorrow to finish. iReady is going to be a program that they're going to use, I would think, at least, second grade is in the 3 times a week, correct?
Yeah.
I believe it's 3 times a week for 15 minutes minimum. So by the end of the week, you want them to be using it for 45 minutes every single day. It's similar to, they have iRead, which I believe everyone was exposed to last year. Very similar program. What they do for iReady, they have taken a reading diagnostic test, and it kind of assessed their abilities in reading. They give them lots of questions so that when they start using the program, it's very individualized. It's based on their needs, their skills, and it will move them forward at their place. It'll start them where they need to be started, and then hopefully that'll help them grow in reading by the end of the year.
They will retest in about January.
Oh, good. Then they're going to retest that same diagnostic to kind of compare how the program is doing in January. So they got it now, in January, yes.
Is it what's called adaptive?
Yep, adaptive. Yes, correct. And then the NWEA math fluency, that gets tested 3 times a year. They got it in October. They'll get it in January and then May-ish. Same thing, but this is more of like a, I guess kind of an official test.
So this is a state assessment versus iReady is
Purchase program.
a purchase, yeah.
So in my opinion, it almost, say it again.
So the scores. So you can contact your student's teacher because the results come within, depending on how high the level is. Some of the results are immediate. Some of the results take 24 to 48 hours, depending if they're reading independent level stuff, and it has to be scored. But your child's teacher should have the results by now. They are scored in 6 different areas, and so they can break it down by what level, like grade level. They'll also give you a raw score. They'll give you phonological awareness. They'll give you phonics. They'll give you literature. They'll give you informational text. And then there's 2 more categories in the middle that I'm missing, but it breaks it down really well for you. So I just sent a message to the teacher because the printout is like 18 pages long, so we're not going to print this out and give you everything. But the teacher will be able to look on iReady and say, these are the next steps, and this is how you can help at home. But we don't have access unless it's like one of our students. So definitely reach out.
And that would be the same thing for the math fluency. That's got different categories, things like that. I want to say that's got the oral reading, and they might.
That's the one that takes longer to grade.
Yeah, and that's what takes that for that 48 hours. But same thing, that's kind of like the state assessment that they'll get 3 times a year that will evaluate their reading levels. And iReady is kind of monitored almost weekly, bi-weekly by the teachers, since they are going to be required to use it for 45 minutes every single week. So it's kind of like 15-minute periods. So, a good question to ask is, what kind of reader is your child? So when you're thinking about what they're doing, are they an early reader or are they a transitional reader? Okay, so an early reader tends to read familiar text independently. Okay, they begin to connect the events when they're previewing the pictures. They might be able to go through a picture walk and tell you kind of the idea of what's happening in that story without having to actually read the text. They generally read words, word by word, in like short phrases. They might not transition their voice based on the punctuations and things like that of what's in the stories. They know names and sounds of all the letters. They're recognizing a growing number of sight words, so they're able to read, have a wider variety of vocabulary. They can pause at their difficulty and begin to problem solve. They can detect and correct some of their errors, retell some of the stories, and then they can link that story to a personal experience. That's kind of like the early reader. They're just beginning to read on their own and things like that. However,
might be like 1 or 2 sentences on a page. So we're thinking basic here, like 5 words in a sentence, not anything extreme. Like we're just talking that basic level. And this might be the book you've read over and over again, and they can pick it out. Or we worked on the sight word the. We can pick out the while we're reading this book. So early reader is great. We're at that stage. A lot of my friends are at that stage, and we're going to move forward.
And one thing I noticed, like when they're the early readers, just like Jen said, they've got the repetitive text. A lot of the sentences might be the same thing on every page, but like one word changes. So maybe the picture, it says this is the cat, and there's a picture of a cat. The next page, this is the dog. So only that one word changes, and they usually have picture support to walk them through that word change. Okay, and like that's usually around the first grade, especially like the beginning. It should be the early readers. Then they're going to go into the transitional reader. So this one, they can still read familiar text, but they can read new text independently. Their texts are usually longer, and they're able to read more text. The sentences are longer on each page. They're not so repetitive on every single page. They kind of read somewhat smoothly. You know, they might pause at the different difficult parts. Usually read with expression and attention to that punctuation. So if there's a question mark, they might change their tone. If there was the exclamation point, they might express excitement. And things like that, like kind of that understanding of when they're reading, they might change their voice if there's quotation marks. They can self-correct again. They retell the story with an understanding on text organization. And then again, they can link the story to personal experiences as well as different other events that maybe are happening in school, to friends, or something else like that. Does anyone have any questions about the types of readers? Go ahead.
Oh, my question is not about like, sorry,
You're
take it away from that. With the respect of the books, the assessment, reading assessment they're having later in the year or next year, are there specific books they're supposed to read, or they can read any book? And do they have free access to this book?
Okay, so previously we used to use,
I'll give you that. You can explain it.
what was called a DRA. And those are those level texts that you're used to. So they come to the teacher, they sit down, they read the story based on how they have it, how many words they have correct and the comprehension. Then we either go down a book or go up a book. I'm not sure if we're going back to that, but we are not using it currently. The system, the computer will give them a book. We have no idea what books they're giving them. But any kind of book is going to help because you're looking for those sight words. You're looking for those patterns. You're looking to build on just those basic sentences. And once they have those strategies of sounding out words, looking at the pictures, we're going to be able to read any text. So it's not going to matter what book I put in front of them. They're going to be able to use those strategies to help them read. But yes, we're currently not using the DRA system. I'm not mad because it is very time consuming. It takes us one by one, and when we have 32 kids in a class, it's a lot of time to test each kid and be able to give them a fair assessment. So using the computer, please make sure they're familiar, they're comfortable with reading on a computer. So being able to use websites like Epic, where there are online books, so they get familiar with seeing it on the computer, so then when they get a book on the screen, it's familiar. They're not stressed, they're not nervous, they're not tensing up, like, what do I do? So give them those opportunities to read paper books in front of them, but also the digital books as well, so that way when they test, oh, I got this, I've seen a digital book before, like, I know what to do, I know how to turn pages, I know how to follow the words on the screen, because it is a different experience. Paper book, we're gonna sit there and we're gonna use our finger, we're gonna go word by word. The digital books, they might, if they have a touchscreen Chromebook, then the page might turn every time they try and touch the word on the screen. But we have to teach them to use the mouse to read word by word. So it is different strategies. Continue to read all books, any kinds of books, they're all going to be helpful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And feel free, any other questions or anything, like, we're here for you guys. So whatever you think of, like, interrupt us, we're here to help.
I'll mute it right. So these are different reading levels, okay? This is kind of what you're going to see from iReady, all right? So when you get that information from the teacher, I don't think they can see it on the student side. I don't think it's available. You'll have to reach out to the teacher to get this information. They're basically using Lexile levels, okay? And when you scan that QR code, the word Lexile levels will click and take you to a website that explains this as well. But you can kind of see at different grade levels, the different Lexile levels, okay? Kind of where they should be at each grade level. And what's nice is you can use that Lexile level to find texts that your child should be able to read, you know, depending on where they are. So you can kind of, I know you can shop by Lexile level at Scholastic. You might be able to ask the librarian, they might be able to help as well. But you could search their Lexile level on Scholastic and find a ton of books that meet their needs and they would be able to read because they fit in that criteria, okay? And as you can see, there's a range per grade level. So they should, if they're on grade level, fall in between these two different numbers. I know they're kind of small, but when you scan them, it gets bigger, I promise. But they slowly increase the range as they go, you know, all the way to 11th and 12th grade, okay?
But notice that we are. So technically, Lexile starts at 0 But we've started introducing Lexile earlier. They've realized the first graders, we're gonna start measuring them. So that BR is like before we can give them an official Lexile level. So it goes from 0, and then you'll see just those regular numbers. So like 295 is like the end of first grade. So that's when they're technically on an official Lexile level. So that BR, that's telling you we're before a Lexile level, which is okay. That's where we are, and that's what we're teaching to.
Good point. Any questions? So these are kind of some examples of level books that you can find using those Lexile levels. As you can see, like the Scholastic has the book, and they have the different letters in the corners, and they'll correlate to the Lexile levels, okay? So that way, maybe this one, level A is the BR one, you're gonna look for level A books, and they can read those independently, or with a little bit of support. And then maybe, it's a D. Maybe that last one is that mid-year first grade Lexile level. You can find those stories, and that can help them figure out that point. Okay, that way you can kind of see the books will tell you what levels they are, and you can kind of match them up to the Lexile so that they can be exposed to text that matches their skill level, but also then you can monitor. Okay, so I gave them one that is right at their skill level. You can give them one right above it. Give them a little bit of a challenge, and then you can practice it together until they do it independently and keep slowly moving forward, okay?
And these books come as a set. So it comes from A through about G, and then there's a second set that does through like M, like it goes farther. So it's nice because you can start at that beginning level and then build up on it, but then you can also go back and revisit, because I can tell you the greatest thing is when they bring me that letter A book and they can read the whole thing and they've got that smile on their face because they're so confident they did it. I don't care if it's a level A book, but they're confident. They did it. They knew the words in that book. And if they know the words in that book, they've seen the word the 8 times in that book. When they see it and Puppy paints a picture, that's that word the. I remember it. So it helps them so much to be able to have that variety. And I don't work for Scholastic. I have no endorsements to Scholastic, but this book set is my favorite. I have 6 sets of these in my classroom, and my kids go up to it. And like this one's really cool because it's not fictional, or it's not non-fictional. It has real pictures in it, but this worm's got glasses on it. Like it has those real life pictures that they've taken and added stories to. There's some that have pigs in tutus and puppies, like, I don't know, day in the life of the puppy. And it catches their attention. It's something that's different that they're not used to seeing. Because they're used to seeing a lot of stuff like this. They see the cartoon, but when you see the porcupine, my pet porcupine, and what they did with the porcupine, now this is a higher level book. This one's got a lot of words in it, like 3 or 4 sentences on a page. But being able to go back and forth and give them something to work towards, but also something that gives them confidence. Because that's what we want to build, is that confidence. So definitely look for those level sets. I know Scholastic has a bunch of them. So that way you can buy, I think it was like $1 a book almost. It's like 15 books in a set. Great Christmas presents, great holiday gifts. Give them the books that they can read and be confident and come to you. Look, I got it. And it's so amazing. It works out nice. I know even in kindergarten they do that too. So then, what are sight words? Okay, so this more so applies to first grade. You still want to keep the second graders exposed to them because these words are still going to show up in their level readers. But sight words are words that are high frequency words that students are going to see on a daily basis. And I like to tell the kindergarten parents that these are words that are very difficult to sound out. You almost just kind of have to memorize them. You can't sound out the word the. It doesn't work phonetically. You just have to know that says the. So the more practice you memorize it, that's kind of what a sight word is. There's roughly 60 of them in first grade. They were exposed to about 40 to 60 in kindergarten. You're exposed to 60 new ones in first grade, and then they no longer have that list to work from. So it's important to practice those previous words so they're exposed to that in the text for second grade. But it does say a sight word is known
when a child can read it within 3 seconds. Okay? So they should just be able to, yep, that's the, yep, that's and, yep, that's that.
Flashcards.
Flashcards will be your best friend with sight words, okay? But they are by memory, they're not really decodable. Some of them might be, that's just by chance, they were thrown in that list.
That's why we give you that 3 seconds. Yeah, because after you started sounding it out, your time is up.
Correct. Practice those sight words. Get the flashcards, put them on index cards, write them down, read them to them in 3 seconds. Because when it was with a DRA, so it's not really anymore, they would meet with the teacher and they would have to read those sight words to the teacher. And it's quick, 3 seconds. And if you didn't tell me in 3 seconds, we're going to the next word. And you didn't get it right, and you go to the next word. So they have to be quick about the sight words, okay?
Now, I don't recommend giving them the full list and testing them the full list like all the time. My recommendation is 5 words a week. And depending on your teacher, they might be already doing 5 words a week. You just need to find out which ones they're doing. But please do not give them all 60 and say, guess what we're doing today? It's raining, it's Saturday, you're learning 60 words. No, not happening, because they might learn about 5 or 6 that day, but they're gonna hate sight words. Please do not make them hate sight words. Like, put them on the wall in the bathroom. We know they spend plenty of time in the bathroom. Give them something to look at. Give them something to read. Or as they're standing at the refrigerator, look, there's 5 words right there. Do you know them? Can you tell me that sight word before you pull that yogurt out of the fridge? Give them those other opportunities to see them. It doesn't always have to be right in front of them. We're sitting down, we're drilling. Make it fun, right? We're getting in the car, we're going to school. Today's word is this. Make it fun. That way they enjoy it. They look forward to it. All right, Mommy, what word are we learning this week? What word are we learning today? What activity are we doing today? Make it fun. That way it's something they want to do and not something you hate doing. All right, we're going to sit here. We're going to practice these. Here's the words. Because I can tell you now, I get bored after like 5 kids testing them all 60 words. So I know you guys are going to get bored testing them. Make it fun.
I know one thing my kids really like is as we learn, I do it in kind of batches of 5 to 10. I take those words, I put them on index cards. Now, granted, I am kindergarten, but I paste them around the classroom. And we're going to walk around the classroom on a sight word hunt. And we're going to find all the sight words that we can read, all the ones that we've learned. You can still do that around the living room. You can do that around their bedroom. Go find the words around the room. Write it down. They're practicing their writing. They're practicing the ones that they can read, the ones that they can find. And then maybe they said, I don't know that one. They don't write it down. You guys know to practice that one. That one needs more exposure because they couldn't read it. So make it a game. Otherwise, like I said, it's not going to be fun.
I always suggest switching up, like chalkboard, erase board. The fact that it's not on a single sheet of paper with pencil, they get bored.
Yes, doing different things. Paper, pencil, markers, chalk. I'll go outside, put it on the fridge, magnets, Play-Doh. Switching it up is a great thing. But another good question is why to learn sight words, okay? By the time students begin to read, sight words are already part of their vocabulary. So you want to start that exposure, okay? Some words cannot be sounded out. They don't make sense phonetically. For example, the. When they say that word, it doesn't match what it should look like, and they look really confused. They're like, that's a
That's not
that
Can't tell
word.
you how many times I've gotten it.
So they just kind of memorize them. Many of the words are used to hold their thoughts together, and learning to recognize these words instantly by sight is essential to developing those reading fluency and comprehension. They'll be able to become better readers. They'll be able to comprehend what they're intaking better, essentially. There's not another word for better. But the more sight words they know, the more vocabulary they know, and they can read them fluently and quickly, their comprehension is going to skyrocket because they're going to move through those texts and they're going to be able to take it in better. Okay? Any questions about sight words? Yes.
So what if the sight words that the child is learning is taking them a little bit longer to learn them? What will be the next level to that?
Just keep practicing.
And I break it, I give them less words to focus on. So if you're giving them 5 and 5 is too many, break it down to 3. Give them something that is obtainable. Find where it's just right. And then, all right, we've been doing 3 for a few weeks. Let's try 4 this week. And if it's only 2 a week, it's 2 a week. It's 2 more words they learned that week than they knew the week before.
Does that make sense?
It does. So would you say testing them first before they move on to the next one, just make sure that everything is okay.
Yep, you can test them on it. And if you're finding like 3-letter words are too hard, go back to those 2-letter words. Do 2s, some 2s, some 3s. Yes.
I know there's some tricks that help the parents and the kids to be able to get them there. So for example, Anne, one of the kindergarten teachers showed my son last year, and she came, and saw him again this year, visited him, and did it again. It's like A and D. So I don't know if there's any other tricks, but that kind of helps too.
Yeah, like associating those movements with them.
Movements are good.
I'll have to look those up.
Yeah, I like that idea. So like one thing I've always told Brandon, again, kindergarten, I don't want to stress the kids out. So when if you can tell they're hitting that frustration level, you don't want to go past that. You want to come back. You want to go backwards. So for example, I would have kindergartners that the left sight words make no sense. Well, okay, let's take a step back. How many letters do you know? 5. Well, duh. Obviously, the sight words are going to make no sense because you don't have the letters necessary. So going backwards, when you see them hit that frustration, okay, let's go back. Let's take a step back. Let's do less words, something less stressful, and then we can go forward. Because the last thing you want is them to hit that frustration because then they're going to hate it. They're going to hate doing it, and then they're going to come back. They're going to hate doing it in school. So, yeah, that's a good thing to do.
And I'll tell you now, I teach 1st grade. I've got kids who still don't know the alphabet. They spent last year home. Some of them were in daycares. Some of them were running around their bedrooms. Some of them it wasn't the best learning environment. So we're trying to get them where they need to be in a timely manner. So it's okay. Like, you've taken the step to come here tonight to get strategies. Like, hats off to you guys because we appreciate it. We need it because we're trying to get them there. We're catching up on things that, we would have taught last year had we been in person, but now we have to look for other methods to get them there. So we're teaching all sorts of levels.
Just take your time. Because they'll get there. Because every kid is different. Every kid is at a different spot, and you just have to meet them where they are.
And the nice thing about us doing 1st and 2nd together, if you have that 1st grader who is excelling, you're getting all the 2nd grade stuff too. So you know how to keep going.
And vice versa. They're not going. There's 1st grade skills. Let me go back to that. Let me apply that again so that you're not meeting that frustration level in 2nd grade. So, very nice. And then here's the fun
now it's my
stuff.
turn.
Wow.
All right, so I get to say all of the fun things we can do at home. This one is called Splat the Sight Word, and basically you just need 2 fly swatters, and typically you can play this either between yourself and the child, or they can have friends or siblings, and you write anywhere from 10 to having a bunch of cards with sight words, and somebody is the caller, and so you would call the word 2, and they look on the floor, they have to try and find it, whoever splats it first is the winner. You can keep track, you can do tallies, or they get to pick the word up off the floor, but it gives them movement, it gives them, something to do while at the same time they're looking. So, play it outside. I know my kids right now, when I take them out to recess, we play with chalk, and today, on their own, without me saying anything, they're out there writing the alphabet. I was like, you could be drawing a rainbow, but you're writing your letters? Good job to you. Like, showing me now you didn't know half of them, but we're practicing. See, we practiced that. But here we go. So, might use some fly swatters at recess. We'll see. How about sight word bowling? We've all seen bowling on clearance right now. Summer's ending. Add some sight words to it. Only this time, instead of just knocking the pins down and knock them down, they only count if you can say the sight word that you knocked over. So you have to give them some words that they know, but you also have to give them a little bit more challenging words. But bowling, like that's a fun activity. I would have loved to play this as a kid, you know. Let's knock some words down, let's practice them. And the nice thing is they're on ribbon, so you can change them out. You can put them on a rubber band, any of that. And then they've got a game that's gonna occupy their time and practice their words. And if they're working with an older sibling, now the older sibling has to check what they're doing. You got lots of them here. You can even add the letters on here if you've got younger ones. Teamwork, entertainment, and you can put like 20 pins out if you really wanted to. You don't have to stick with 10. Change it however you like. So, any of the games we can modify to use sight words. Pinterest, full of ideas, y'all. Board games. We can change them. We can add sight words to any board game. I have some of these in my classroom, and it's funny because they'll take them out. Oh yeah, we're gonna play Candyland. Y'all are gonna play Candyland. You're gonna learn sight words when you play Candyland. Aw, man! And then they're over there. Yo, what's this word? What's this word? How do you say this word? Because they don't want to give up that color, but they need to know the word. But they're practicing. Doesn't matter that they didn't know it. Their friend playing the game knew it and was able to help them out a little bit. Okay, so we have Connect 4. Connect 4, you just take the little circle stickers, write sight words on them. In order to play the piece, they have to say the word. If they want to call a win, they have to say all 4 of the words. Revamping a game that maybe they pushed to the side, they're bored of. Guess who? This one, you're actually getting a version of tonight we'll talk about later. But instead of saying the characteristics of the person, you're going to say the characteristics of the word. So does your word have a vowel? Does your word have a consonant? Does your word have a letter with a dot in it? They have to give clues, and they have to look through all of the words and put down the ones that don't fit their characteristics. Way to change it up. Candyland, in order to play Candyland, they have to say the word on the color. So if they can't say the word on the color, technically they're supposed to stay where they're at. Depending on your child's frustration level, you might be like, okay, I'm gonna put that one at the bottom of the pail, pick again, until they master them. And then chutes and ladders. Instead of using a spinner where it gives you the number of how many spaces you can move, you're gonna use a deck of sight words, and you're gonna put numbers on them. So they draw a card, they say the word, they get to move that many number of spaces in the game. So if you ever need ideas, Pinterest is full of them. Revamp these old games you have at home, so now they're instructional. Now don't do it to all of them. We do want them to still enjoy, board games, but gives you a few fun ideas.
What's nice is if, they're moving past these sight words, give them new sight words. Go grab second grade words. But maybe they're reaching that first language level. Let's go back. Let's do letters. Let's do sounds. So they can switch. You can change them because you're just adding to these pieces. So it's easy to change them based on what your child needs at that moment.
And I'm sure the thrift store has extra pieces. You could have 2 or 3 different versions of this game and not have to spend a whole lot. Or Black Friday's coming up. These games go on sale for $5. Can you tell I like to shop? All right, so on a more paperwork process, how to help with reading. So we're using graphic organizers. They might look a little different this year, depending on how your student is learning. I know my class is 99% on the computer, but some of the classes do still use paper and pencil. But we're learning to focus our ideas. So that beginning, that middle, that end. We're breaking it down into boxes. Now, what that might look like right now, that might look like pictures. That might look like words, labels. It might look like sentences. But as long as they can identify those and put them down, it might even look like me making an assignment where I have the pictures for them to place in the right boxes. All different kinds of levels, but we're helping to focus their thoughts. Because right now, I can guarantee you, they can tell you the beginning of the story. They might be able to tell you the end of the story, but that beginning is going to look a whole lot like the beginning of the story. The middle is going to look like the beginning of the story, because they're just going to keep going. And you're like, hold on, flip to the middle of the book, let's go from there. It's okay. This is why we're here. We're learning how to organize our thoughts. some friends who are at like a 3rd grade level. So it's at their level. It's quick lessons. They tell me like, they get to this next lesson, I'm done. No, you're not. You gotta do another one. But they feel accomplished because they completed something. And it was, something they enjoyed doing. So keep up with the iReady. Don't make them sit on it forever and ever and ever. That 15 minutes. That's the perfect time. And maybe they did it at school that day. You don't have to do it again at home. But maybe we ran out of time in class. Did you iReady today? All right, let's do a lesson or two. Can't hurt. But definitely keep track with that iReady. All right, so you guys have homework because when I told the kids they were coming here tonight, they looked at me and they're like, we have school at night. I said, no, your parents have school tonight. You guys have a pizza party and you're playing with friends. Oh, okay, I'm gonna tell mom. So y'all get homework just like they do. So you guys are gonna practice sight words with them. Please, even if we're starting with one, practice those sight words and they're in your folders. Just start somewhere. Paired or buddy reading. So that's when you're going to sit with your child and they're either going to read either the words they know in the sentences or they're going to read the sentences they know. Or you take turns. I'll read this page, you read that page, or I'll read it the first time, you'll read it the second time. And even if they're making up that story, perfectly fine. I know some of mine come up with the different endings to the story or they add extra characters and you're like, where did that come from? We're reading. We're thinking about a way a story is formed. Reread the favorite books. I know your kids have watched the same movie or the same episode 100 times. But when it comes to books, I already read it. Okay, we can read it again. We don't need to just read a book one time and put it away. We get better by reading it over and over again. This one is probably one of my favorites. Record it. I have a YouTube channel where I read stories, and my kids are like, you're YouTube famous? I'm YouTube famous. I can read. You can't be on YouTube until you can read. What? Well, mommy and daddy also have to approve you being on YouTube, but I'm old enough, but record videos of them. Send it to grandma, send it to auntie, send it to uncle, send it to cousins. It gives them another outlet, and they can play that video over and over again, and they can hear, did I do it well, or do I need to re-record it? Because they want to be perfectionists when they make this video. You can't be YouTube famous unless you know how to read really well. So, record it. They have their Chromebooks or their iPads. Let them record. Just make sure they're not sharing it on any outlets they're not supposed to be sharing it on. Listen to books. Like I said, I'm on YouTube. I made videos. Other people have made videos as well. So even if English is not your first language, you have trouble with it, go on YouTube, find the story. They can listen to it in English, they can listen to it in Spanish. They can keep listening to the videos. Sometimes they're animated, gets their attention a little bit more, but listen to the books as well. You might get tired of your voice. Maybe you don't read the character voices like you're supposed to or like they're thinking. Let somebody else read it to them as well. So, no shame in that. We do it all the time. And then we are going to create some goals because as side by side, we're going to work with you throughout the year. So that way you can help your child succeed in your grade and you feel confident at the end. So first grade, first goal, letter recognition. We really want them to know all of their letters as soon as possible. Because I can tell you now it's really hard to do assignments on the computer when they don't know their letters. Even if I spell the word, they're still, what does the Q look like? Okay, we'll step back. But please, please, please make sure they know their letters. They know their letters? Move on to sight words. Start recognizing those words so that way when they are doing their assignments, they don't have to raise their hand and ask me, how do you spell love? It's a sight word. Use it. And then we're going to try and be on grade level in iReady because it does level them at either a pre-kinder, kinder, early one, mid one, late one, and then it'll do like grade 2. So I imagine grade 2, it also does early 2, late 2, on 2. But we want to be on grade level. That's our goal. And if you need help with your teacher, they'll be able to tell you where your child is and how we can move. Second grade, we're going to read with greater fluency. So we're going to understand what we're reading. We're going to be able to read with expression. We're going to use our strategies more so that way we don't have to keep stopping. We can read it without making any mistakes. We're going to use word identification strategies. So if I don't know a word, I'm just going to skip it. I'm going to try something. We're going to use our common letter patterns. So those spelling things that we're working on, all of their spelling words, we're going to look for those in our reading as well. And we want to be on grade level and I'm ready. Or at least make progress. That's our goal. We want to move forward. We don't want to move backward. So these are our goals. We're going to work towards them. And we're going to keep giving you strategies all year so you can get there. Yes?
Sorry, can you give an example of things like use common letter patterns and critical features and spell words?
So, like the ing at the end of a word, like we understand as an ing, or like es is plural at the end. Some of the other patterns in second grade would be like the R blends or the S blends, like BR, CR. Those are more advanced than what we do in first grade. Mm-hmm. And we want to see you back here on November 16th, and we want you to bring a friend because side by side is better with friends. Hello. We'll be presenting again, but this time we're going to be doing math. So, new strategies, new skills, and we'll have more fun ideas. All right, do you have any questions? Anything that you can answer? Any questions?
To sign up for the 16th, we use the barcode that's on the left side of the board.
Miss Danielle, how do they sign up for next time?
They'll have flyers that'll come out, just like this time. And if they're here tonight, I'll send them an individual email so they can register online.
See, y'all are the VIPs. You're gonna get an email. Make sure you sign up, come back with us, send it to a friend. Yeah. So she doesn't have the Chromebook? So it is, iReady is through Clever, so it can be accessed through any laptop. iReady is also, so she doesn't have the Chromebook at home, but iReady, can they get to it as an app by itself, or
No, if you have an iPad, I believe you would just, remember how you had a lovely QR code last year? Scan the QR code to get on Clever.
It's like the same one?
Should be the same one.
But it's her individual name.
Yep, so you scan that, get into Clever. It's something, it might not pop up on that home page, so just use the search bar and type iReady. When it'll pop up, it looks like that little image. It should then open up a second app, and it would automatically log her in. So if you got an iPad, you can download that app. It should still work. Should still work.
I know what iPad she had for kindergarten, they were great.
Yeah.
And then we got Chromebook and then they kept it in class.
you can,
I see.
I'll talk to you in a minute, because I think I know who your child speaks with.
But it should, all you should have to do is just download the app, but then go through Clever.
Okay.
That way, it would automatically log her into iReady.
Okay, so I know when she left your class, she got kicked out of Clever and all that stuff, so I wasn't sure if she can go back in.
Yep, should be. Yes, yep, go through Clever.
That's my girl.
There might be a link in Google Docs, it won't be the same thing.
Uh-huh.
But it should be right through Clever. I'll ask them. Yes. Sure. It's iReady, not iReady. yeah, so go back and type in. Yeah, no, not that. Good point.
Why?
Yeah, we do hit search. Yes, yes. Does she play other computer games?
¿Me escuchó bien? ¿Me pudo escuchar?
But I have an iPhone. But I can show you what it is.
And she follows along about her handwriting.
Lo voy a personas que están aquí están haciendo
It's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, we're taking questions, yeah.
Oh, my grandmother was the same way. I used to have to write the letter out over and over.
It should be.
It's what the app looks like, and we just brought it back to the curriculum this year. We didn't.
This little symbol right here is what you should look for.
But
It doesn't seem like it's in the Google
Store.
Store.
Questions like this is what's gonna happen. These are the
That
questions
should
you're gonna
be.
see. Start processing it ahead of time, so we just have to double check. You know, some of these things, like you've seen it, you've tried it,
Yes.
and like iReady, she's gonna keep a couple of lines in that program. Okay, yeah. So by doing it as a practice, when it comes to the test, it's like it's second nature. Yeah, right. And what happens is like it's supposed to adjust.
Does he have it on?
On how the answers are. Well, on that one, then it's gonna go down, and they get frustrated and they're over it. So the person,
I didn't know.
but then there's also like it doesn't quite.
Teachers should have it.
So
Yes.
it's
Yep. Yep.
a lot. I have.
That's it. See, so the teacher has access to it.
So
And it automatically logged in it.
so I've
But
had.
it's the same thing. You can email passwords.
Teachers have been impressed. They won't,
Something to log in.
but never. But it's hard because they are, like, they're first graders, they move out. So they're like, they're in everybody's business. So I said, if something happens, because they have no. As much as I try and say, sit in your chair, they're little. They want to make friends with everybody, and they want to share, and they want to, you know. And it's my OCD is like the math. I have to have the math. Like that's what I.
O si no, ponga la pregunta en el chat.
So cute how she's so excited. And they got kind of ways other visits and things, like, you know, if she does well on something, this time, like, you know, after school or something, you know, bring her by and have a little powwow. So, yeah, like, you know, all right, I don't know what to do this without the temper tantrum, like, all right, we're gonna go see this ourselves. So, I don't mind at all, like, we can do something special and you start excited. All right, were there any other? Miss Danielle, any other announcements or things? I think we're,
I have a question.
yeah, please don't leave them. Surveys?
The surveys should be in your folder, and they will be collected as you leave this evening.
Danielle,
Yes, ma'am.
the virtual friends would like to know if the folders that these friends have, will they receive it?
As long as they signed in on the chat, so I know who they are.
Oh, okay. So they're going to, they can pick it up from the school?
Nope, I'll send it to them. I'll send them an email, get their mailing address and send it to them.
Oh, okay.
Just have to make sure they sign in, so I know who they are. That way I can track them on the registration.
It does seem, Ms. Rachel, it doesn't seem like the iReady's on Android phones.
Interesting.
Right? I thought, okay. I don't know what word is it.
Just have them put their name in the chat.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just like.
Because the chat gets
Same
saved
thing
as
she
well.
did right here, just want to put her name in there and Danielle will see
In the
it.
chat, okay.
Good.
Yep. So we will see you back here again in November. You'll have paper forms that come home like usual. If it's easier, you can register straight through your email when I send it to you. I'll send it directly to you. If you don't hear from me by at least a week beforehand, check your spam folder, just in case. In case you've never received anything from me, sometimes we end up in the spam folder. But once you respond to me one time, I'll end up in your inbox all the time. And I'll send you all kinds of good stuff. On your way out tonight, I know everyone got their first or second grade practice book for home. We have a bunch of first grade books left. So if anybody needs another one for another child at home, a niece, a nephew, yes, or maybe your child's a second grader and could use the extra boost, grab a first grade one for them as well.
That bring a friend thing, give it to a friend. Hey, you want some more resources? Come to side by side.
The children are on the way back up. They're gonna do a quick check to make sure that all the numbers match, make sure your wrist matches your child's wrist, and then you'll be on your way. There's pizza on the way out. You're welcome to take, our food coordinator bagged up some of the leftover, so that you're welcome to take that on the way out. Don't leave without your children. It's very important.